Mr. Kabiri, are we ready, Karen? Okay, I will now call this meeting to order, our February 3rd Friendswood City Council meeting, and announce that we have a quorum. Please stand for tonight's invocation, which will be led by Senior Pastor David Lorenz of First Baptist Friendswood, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the pledge to the Texas flag.
Good to see you. Will you bow with me? Heavenly Father, by your great providence, you've allowed us to live in this great city of Friendswood. And tonight, as we've gathered, we pray blessing over our city council and our elected officials and our city employees. We pray that you would guide them tonight with grace and wisdom as they carry out important business related to our city. And for us as citizens, Lord, we pray that we would live out the name of our city, that we would be friends to one another, seeking the best for each other. And we ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor Lorenz.
Are you the one that got me the proclamation?
Well, no. Okay, we will start with council comments and reports, and I would change up the order a little bit. I'm going to start out with Council Member Hanks.
Thank you. So this is the best place in the world to live, I think, and we are so blessed to have a town full of volunteers, both in the community and a hard-working staff within the city. So this past weekend, I got to attend the play, the musical, Mary Poppins at Friendswood High School. I'm telling you, it is like a Broadway play. These students are nothing short of amazingly talented. And if you didn't get a chance to go see it this past weekend, they're performing it again this weekend, and I would highly recommend it. It's a lot cheaper than booking a flight to New York and going on Broadway, but the quality will be the same, and I don't say that lightly. Also coming up this coming weekend is the Education Foundation Gala, and I think the tickets are all sold out. There are about 750 or a little bit more people attending down in Galveston. It's to raise money for grants for the teachers, ultimately for the students. But if you don't have tickets to that, you can go online, and there are lots of ways that you can participate. You can purchase a grant, you can adopt a grant, or you can bid on some of the auction items. So I encourage you to do that. And then also this last weekend, our Parks Department, which I won't say they're the hardest working department in the city, but I am their liaison right now with Keep Friendswood Beautiful, so I'm gonna plug them. They are amazing, and they had the daddy-daughter dance this weekend, and I did talk to several people who had attended that, and it's just another way that our city tries to bring people together to form a stronger community. And then on March 8th, I know you need to get your calendars out for all this, right? On March 8th, the Friends of the Friendswood Library will be hosting their fourth fundraising gala. It's not as elaborate as what the Education Foundation does. It's more intimate, just a couple hundred people usually at the library. It's open to the public. You can go online and order tickets, and it always takes on the theme of a book, and this year it's Camelot Beckons. There will be someone dressed up as King Arthur. It's kind of what I've heard, and maybe another one too, or probably several. And maybe Guinevere is running around, but there will be minstrels and food and drink and ways to support the library too. It's just a fun, relaxing evening. It's about a 5 or 10 minute drive at the most for anyone, and it's right here in our library, and you won't recognize the library when you walk in. And again, I'd like to commend the staff. Matt Riley is here. the director of the library, and his staff for helping and putting all their time on top of their jobs into making that a great fundraiser. So great place to be. This community is a great place to be, and thank you to all the volunteers. And hope that we always remember how hard other people are working, even when we don't agree on how to get to the place we all want to go. I hope that we show a lot of respect and appreciation for each other. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just continue down the line. Councilmember Branson.
I'll just remind folks, please, if you're interested in serving in the city of Friendswood, we have volunteer applications, and right now we do have openings on the Community Economic Development Commission. So please consider volunteering your time. It's a great way to get involved and engaged and help mold the future of Friendswood. So thank you.
Councilmember Ellisor.
My wife and I also attended the musical Friday night, and I have one word to say: supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's great.
Well done.
I actually saw John and his better half there at Mary Poppins, and I'll just say this. My wife and I have been season ticket holders to Theater Under the Stars for as many years as I can remember, and I don't recall a better play put on by just some kids, amateur kids. They are just absolutely amazing. They have voices that are just unbelievably good, and the new facility is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. They need more bathrooms, but other than that, it was really an excellent show. If you get a chance, I think they're on for one more weekend. And February the 19th is the 179th anniversary of the Republic of Texas becoming a state. And Anson Jones was the third and last president of the Republic of Texas, and he was the architect of getting Texas as a state when he was there. And we're having a ceremony at Glenwood Cemetery, and I'll be giving his Masonic history. He actually had the charter from the Masonic Grand Lodge of Louisiana in his saddlebags at the Battle of San Jacinto. And the sons of the Republic of Texas, the daughters of the Republic of Texas, and the children of the Republic of Texas put this ceremony on. There's going to be quite a few people there. And the mayor and the city of Friendswood did provide me a proclamation for Anson Jones Day, and I really do appreciate that. Joe, I mentioned that earlier. But yeah, I'll be there for that on February the 19th. And just think about that, 179 years ago on that date, we became a state.
Brett?
We talked about seeing the musical last weekend. I didn't get to see it, so it looks like we know what we're doing this upcoming weekend. Kids go to school with a lot of those actors, so I can't wait to see it. Sounds like it was quite the show.
Okay. I had one comment I wanted to make, and that was I just really wanted to recognize the dedication and the professionalism of our city staff. We had the recent freeze events in January, and again, the mayor was out of town at that time, so I sat in the Emergency Operations Center for the meetings there. And while we're all at our homes getting our homes ready, for those kind of freeze events and covering plants and so forth, there's a lot of city staff behind the scenes that are working to keep all of us safe, to continue our services through those kind of events, be ready for all our first responders. So it goes kind of unseen, but I'm just telling you there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that we stay safe during those kind of events. So I just want to say, and I'm sure for all of you as well, big thank you to city staff. Okay, with that, our public comment period is now open. To comply with the provisions of the Open Meetings Act, the City Council of the City of Friendswood cannot deliberate any item not listed on the agenda. As such, the City Council will listen to public comment and may, one, refer an item to city management for further action, or two, direct staff to place an item on a future agenda. During tonight's public comment periods, we ask that everyone please comply with the council's rules of decorum. So I have several cards that we'll go through this evening. We have Frank Urbanik. If you could step to the podium, sir, and repeat your name to make sure I said it correctly and your address.
Yes, I'm Frank Urbanik, 16227 Barcelona Drive. retired Air Force fighter pilot. Want to thank City Council, the city staff for all the work they do. That I think is really tremendous. Now, I'm not here to stir the kitty litter, but I want to bring something to your attention of which I think is of serious concern. And that is the proposed new trash bans. Apparently, they're kind of hidden out of public view in the alcove of where the utility, you pay your utility bills. I think they should be put out in the lobby where people can look at them. If y'all haven't, I suggest you do. Did a little, thanks to my wife, did a little survey in Friendswood. And some of the comments that we came up with is one, senior citizens, that the trash bins are bulky, they're heavy, they're awkward, and they're hard to maneuver. So if you haven't done this, go out there and look at it. The other thing is there's some very steep driveways in Wedgwood Village. And I know I've seen some people in their 80s and maybe even a little older to try and maneuver with the trash cans that they have. And it's dangerous. It's going to be dangerous. It is dangerous for some now. It's going to be even more dangerous. So what I would like to ask you to do is to reconsider this. Now, I'm all for automation. I mean, ever since the Wright brothers taught me to fly, I mean, automation's been great. But at the same time, besides, filling potholes and raising taxes and putting up pretty telephone or light poles and everything, you've got a responsibility for the welfare and the safety of the citizens of this community. I challenge you to look at these bins again. Take a look at them, try to maneuver them around yourself, and say, hey, wait a minute, is this gonna fit the needs of the people, or is it just something nice to say that we have done? Thank you very much. I look forward to chatting with y'all some other time, and I do have another meeting to go to.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Rob Roy. Good evening, Mr. Roy.
Evening. Thank you, City Council, for giving me the opportunity to share my little nightmare with some barking dogs. I back up to a home that's a rental property, and they have 6 large barking dogs. I am a broker that works out of my home, and sometimes be a half hour, an hour, but sometimes early in the morning and sometimes late at night. Obviously, I'd called animal control in the past. They've always been very polite, but apparently whenever they show up, or the police if it's in off hours, the dogs aren't barking at the time when they show up. So I did call animal control. They came out and visited with me, and I'm not going to do this because you're not supposed to play anything in here. And I showed her some of the videos that I had of the dogs barking, and she was like kind of eye-opening. Well, the fact that they had 5 dogs was against the city ordinance to begin with. And she gave me this form and says, hey, Mr. Roy, you can file a non-observed misdemeanor. And I says, great. So I fill this whole thing out, the dates and the times. And I went to the courthouse and went to the window and handed it in. And she said, well, I'm not sure they're going to respond to this request, but I'll turn it in to whoever the person is that prosecutes these things. And anyway, I got a letter back. Well, actually, what was disturbing to me is that I told her that I had videos recording, and I'd be glad to put it on a flash drive or send it to her as evidence of what I'm going through. And she said, oh no, we got to turn it in and they'll decide whether they want to hear your case. Well, I got the case rejected because animal control had not observed the misdemeanor. Now, fortunately, those tenants did get evicted about a couple weeks ago. It's been very peaceful and very quiet. The reason why I'm here is because I'm convinced that if other people are having the same problem, that they're not going to get a response, period, with an unobserved misdemeanor. I mean, the whole point of doing it is to try to present evidence for prosecution. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, our last speaker that I have a card for is Mr. Tom Hinckley.
Tom Hinckley, 607 Linson Lane. Just wanted to step up tonight and introduce myself. I'm running for City Council Position 6 in the upcoming election. Been volunteering with the city for 6 years, I think. CEDC, Planning and Zoning. Last 2 years as Chairman of Planning and Zoning. Local father, businessman, and just look forward to serving our community further. Thank you. Oh, and I did make it the daddy-daughter dance, sponsor it even. Yeah.
Okay, having no further cards. Next, we will discuss and consider approving waterworks and sewer system revenue bonds. We will begin with a presentation by Mr. John Roebuck with BOK Financial Securities.
And real quick, while John's going to the podium, just a reminder, we recently adopted a utility rate study that included a number of projects over the next 5 years. The bond issuance that's going to be discussed this evening is for the first year of that, for the list of projects.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, John Roebuck, BOK Financial Securities. Good evening.
Good evening.
Like Murad said, we are going to talk about the first phase, the water and sewer system revenue bonds. We're going to be issuing later this month, I guess next month, excuse me. And this is the schedule of events and the financing plan to get that accomplished. The first page is the current market overview. This is the weekly snapshot of municipal bond rates. We are selling revenue bonds, so the red line is indication of those rates. We're currently at a 4.35%. Kind of give some context, that's a little higher than the average. It's also because volatility leading into election. After the election, we've seen rates kind of stabilize somewhat, but we are seeing a little bit more movement again because of the tariffs and then whatever financial policies are going to be implemented as President Trump takes office. So for the bonds themselves, on the far left column is the current debt service requirements paid for by water and sewer revenues, plus the proposed principal interest and total debt service requirements on the 2025 or Series 2025 water and sewer revenue bonds. They're in the middle, and then the resulting debt service requirements on the far right. I will tell you, we ran this with a real market scale. So you'll see the principal amount is $20,395,000. That will actually generate $20,500,000 for the city for the projects, and also the reserve fund requirement about $1.4 million, which is the average annual debt service requirements on those new bonds. That's safety for investors in case water rates don't come in like we're projecting, or we have a drought or a rainy season. So again, it protects investors and also the city and the credit. To get this accomplished, we have a schedule of events. We're going to draft the first drafted document. We've already actually done that. I have a copy of that. We're actually on the second draft right now. We've scheduled rating calls. We're asking you tonight to give us a green light to move ahead. So we can have those rating calls, the diligence calls, and then bring the results of the sale on Monday, March 3rd to you for your approval. And if you approve it then we'll close on March 27th, at which point the city will receive the funds for those water and sewer projects. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on the financing plan or the schedule of events. But we're moving ahead with it. So if you want to stop, we can stop it. But again, it's we got the document ready to go and the rating calls ready to go too.
Well, why don't you stay up there for just a second.
Sure.
Rod, is there anything else that you'd like to add, city
Just
staff?
a reminder, the rates have already been adjusted to accommodate this bond issuance. So if we don't issue the bonds, then the impact to the utility users already been made.
Any questions? I guess I have just two
Yes, sir.
brief ones. When was our last time that we issued these water and sewer bonds?
So the last issuance was in 2021. We had the benefit of a few years in which we collected more revenue than we anticipated, either due to drought or just higher consumption levels. And our fund balance was rather healthy, so we avoided issuing new debt since 2021 on the water sewer side, simply using our working capital above 90 days.
Okay. And why now? Why do we need to issue new debt now?
So a number of things. Our water sewer working capital above 90 days is now $143,000, so it's not nearly enough to tackle the projects that we're on the books for. We are under contract with the City of Houston and other partners for our Southeast water purification plant for water, and then the Black Hawk wastewater treatment plant for wastewater. On top of that, we have commitments to some development projects in Georgetown and in Friendswood Trails that we need to upsize utility lines, as well as a number of other projects that we're on the hook for. So if we don't issue the debt, then we're not able to complete those projects, and we may have a situation where our water sewer system would then start to degrade.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on this item? Oh, sorry. Ah, thank you. Okay. Ah, you're right. I moved right into second one, didn't I? Okay. So item B is consider approving the schedule for the city's waterworks and sewer system revenue bonds, series 2025.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
I just had one quick question, and I asked you this at the agenda meeting.
Yes, sir.
Explain the $15,150,000 that's included for city's general obligation refund.
Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
Series 2014. I don't know if y'all heard that, but this includes $15,150,000 refunding bonds, which are general obligation bonds 2014, and the Series 2016 general obligation bonds. Those are going away after we issue these revenue bonds. Am I right there? Is that it's not going away?
No, this is purely a new money bond issue, so this is new debt, so we're going to give you proceeds in the amount of.
So we will still have 2016 bonds and 2014 bond obligations.
Correct, and those bonds were basically refunding bonds that refund some water sewer related debt issuances. So although it's being paid for, or it's paid for the water sewer revenues, it's on the general obligation side. So we have a determination policy where you'll actually transfer money to the debt service fund from the water sewer fund to pay for those debts. So it's not counted against your coverage ratios or your revenue or reserve fund requirement for the water
So
sewer.
why did we even include that as mentioning in here? If these are completely new, why did we mention that?
In the footnote there?
Yes.
Just because it's included in the debt service. We're showing the total debt service paid for by
total
water
debt
and
service.
sewer. Yes, yes, sir. It's
Okay.
existing
I
debt
was
service.
Yes, under the impression that we were actually going to roll these in and do away with the 2014, 2016.
I would like to, but no, we can't
yeah,
yet.
I know,
It's still
me
too
and you
soon.
both. Okay. All right.
We
Okay,
do-
I'm clear now. I'm clear.
We don't have any more bond proceeds from those bond issuance. Those projects are since completed, though.
Okay, good. Thanks, Mo. I appreciate that.
They were probably issued 8 years before that, so
Yeah.
it's probably 20 years debt to pay for.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. Motion passes.
We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next on our agenda is a requested zone classification change. It is now approximately 5. I got to just switch to a digital watch one of these days on this.
5:55.
There you go. I'll go with 55. Okay, and I will now call to order this public hearing regarding a request for a zone classification change for the property located at 311 Laurel, a .289 acre tract of land, more or less, being a part of Lot 16 of the Harvey and Stout subdivision of Lots 6, 7, and 8, Block 2 of Friendswood subdivision of the Sarah McKissick or J.P. Williams League of Land, Friendswood, Galveston County, Texas, to change from multifamily residential medium density to downtown district. This public hearing is being held for the purpose of giving all interested parties the right to express their views on the requested rezoning of 311 Laurel. Everyone desiring to be a part of this hearing should have completed the public hearing comment card in the foyer and submitted it to the city secretary. Once called to the podium to speak, each participant is asked to give his or her name and address to create a proper record of this hearing. Our rules allow each person up to 5 minutes, thank you, to speak for or against this request. We will start with a staff overview of this request. Ms. Harbin?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Mayor Pro Tem. So this is a request by the property owner at 311 Laurel to change from multifamily medium density to downtown district. You can see the map on the screen, the pink property. It's the only multifamily residential medium property left in that area. The blue line on the map is the downtown district boundary. So any property within the downtown district boundary is the long-term plan for the city is for all those properties within the boundary to be rezoned to downtown district. So with that being said, the request complies with the future land use map. Required notices were sent and published, and the Planning and Zoning Commission held their public hearing on January 9th. It was a vote of 5-0. It was a unanimous vote to approve the requested zone change.
Okay, would the applicant like to speak?
I'm Troy Kennedy with Kennedy Architecture, address 1002 Hardesty, Seabrook, Texas. I'm here on behalf of the owner. I'm here in support of this zoning change. This change meets all of the criteria of the downtown district guidelines spelled out in the zoning ordinance. It also aligns with the intent of the downtown district program adopted by the city of Friendswood in 2008. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Our second person that filled out a card, is it Francine or? Sorry, I apologize. And well, when you get to the podium, come on, please. This is on me, but would you please state your name so I can pronounce
It's Tracine, Tracine, Poti, P-O-T-I.
Oh, thank you. And your
my
address is?
212 West Willowwick Avenue,
Thank you.
Friendswood. My house is the one that's right beside this property. As I stand before you all, I am respectfully requesting you disapprove the zone classification and ordinance for property located at 311 Laurel Avenue. The documents provided to you in agenda packet are inaccurate and would have a huge major impact on my property if you all approve this requested zone change. Part of the property, of my property, and part of my garage is on these drawings. The drawings in the packet are on page 22 of 322, page 25 of 322, page 26 of 322, page 27 of 322, page 34 of 322. And if you need to see a plot of my property, I'll be glad to show it if you all need it. In addition to the inaccuracies of the documents and drawings, there are several logistical issues that need to be improved before any commercial project developments begin in our residential neighborhood. One is the completion of the townhouse one right beside the library, that's still not completed. And two, you want to build a new one. Drainage is a big issue. Both the sewer and storm drain clogs at any time it rains. No one cleans these out. We take it upon ourselves to clean it as much as we have. There's lack of sidewalks, parking, streetlights, just to start. When a commercial property issues these are going to become magnified, not just with our residents that still live there, but also the commercial buildings that are going to be building there and all the businesses that are going to be coming. What are the tax repercussions and incentives to our residential homes? There's also an increase of traffic as people walk their fur babies, they ride their bikes in this neighborhood. People speed on Laurel Avenue. People run through the stop signs, sometimes they even hit it. We have lived in this neighborhood for 18 years, and during this time, we have looked out for our neighbors and our neighborhood. We have endured a lot of construction and road improvements, and we rarely spoke up about it, especially when construction trucks ruined our front lawn. And they recently have ruined our front lawn by the new building commercial that's there. We also have not been informed when the water gets turned off because the drain lines had to be replaced 3 times in that new commercial building. Whereas it is very difficult for me to stand before you all and humble myself to request you all to disapprove the zone classification ordinance, but I am standing here in front of you all, hoping that you will listen to these residents and myself and request and disapprove this request at this time. And now I'm not saying that it needs to be completely gone, but I think there's a lot of issues that need to be resolved before we have another commercial property beside my residential. I'm concerned about resale. I'm concerned about crime. I'm concerned about a lot of other features in this neighborhood. And again, as I stated, we've lived here 18 years. This has been our home, and we protected our neighborhood. Nobody looks out for us. The other day, my husband, we saw the water leak across the street. Nobody said anything. My husband and I, we called the city, and they took care of it. When Hurricane Beryl hit, nobody helped us out. Not the builder, who owned the property, not the builder, not the homeowner behind us, saying, hey, let's all work together and build a fence. We did it all ourselves. But the builder has a makeshift that's just standing like this with a little posts like that. If you want a community, then I understand, and we are there. But this is the first time that I'm actually speaking up against something in Friendswood, in my community here, in which I'm really surprised and shocked. But I'm very passionate about this. Again, I'm requesting that you do not approve this at this time. Thank you for your time for listening. Thank you.
Thank you for coming before us this evening. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this zone classification change? Okay. Seeing no one else desiring to speak on this item, I will now close this public hearing, and we will now move to item 7B. In 7B, we will consider an ordinance regarding a zone classification change for the property located at 311 Laurel, a 0.289 acre tract of land, more or less being a part of Lot 16 of the Harvey and Stout subdivision of Lots 6, 7, and 8, Block 2 of Friendswood subdivision of the Sarah McKissick or J.P. Williams League of Land, Friendswood, Galveston County, Texas, to change from multifamily residential medium density to downtown district. Any questions, comments, or discussion?
I got one question. Do we know what's going to be on that property, like when it's rezoned? Do we have any idea yet? When I hear about the drainage and stuff, I mean, is it going to be a building? I mean, do we know what it's going to be?
Not for sure. There was some conceptual thought. The thought was it's 0.289 acres, so they're planning to combine it with 2 adjacent properties for a mixed-use development that's in compliance with the downtown district regulations.
How long has this property been residential medium density? How long has it been zoned that?
Since 1970, it was zoned multifamily, and then in 79, it changed to multifamily medium density.
Okay, so it's been multifamily medium density for a long time, ever since this Miss Pody has lived there. I don't understand the overlay of the plat that shows that it's going over her garage. So what is that?
Those are just it's an aerial photo from our maps that we get, and the layers don't. So the zoning layers on top, like when you turn the layers on and off, they don't match up exactly. So it's not a
surveying problem where there's a line going over her property.
No, we're not changing anything on her property. We have the meets and bounds description for the 0.289 acres. And so we will only be changing the 0.289 acres. The overlays are, like I said, they're a little bit off, but.
Well, I can kind of preface this because I don't really understand why any property owner, or especially a developer, that would want to subject themselves to the more restrictive covenants of an overlay district or a downtown district, but obviously this developer wants to do that. I see this as very similar to the situation that we had with Kenton Harris and his 2 boys wanting to put his single-family residential home in the downtown district, and we approved that. And I voted for that too. And I just want to make sure that we're not sitting there over her property.
No, it does not affect her property.
It's just a visual error on the drawing. It's not a true, as you said, no survey issue.
Yes.
Okay. Aubrey, I wasn't. I didn't see on the notes that you were going to do any presentation. Is there any staff presentation on this that we want to go through before other questions?
Nothing in particular, but the concerns that Ms. Podis raised, we can look into some of those with regard to the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer lines. If there are clogs that need to be either jet cleaned out or vacuumed out, we can definitely do that.
The restrictive covenants under downtown district is very, very detailed. So a developer wanting to place himself under a downtown district or a community overlay district already know the extensive regulations that are involved with that. like I said, I still don't know why anybody would want to get under a downtown district or a community overlay district, but it is a lot more restrictive in what they can do. And so he's talking about combining this with some adjacent tracks, because you really can't do much with 0.289
Not with the
acres.
0.289, but no, the purpose of and the intent of the downtown district is to allow the smaller lots to be combined for redevelopment. The mixed use zoning is an attraction. You can, we allow the commercial and retail on the bottom floor, and then on the second floor and up, they can do residential. They can do commercial on the second floor. I mean,
How
there's
close
no,
would the second floor be to this property?
So adjacent to single-family residential, it's a 15-foot setback on the side property line, which if they're adjacent, the sides that are adjacent to another downtown district property, it's a 0-foot setback. So it's just the building separation.
But
They would
that's
also,
not to, that's to another commercial property.
yes, yeah.
Okay, but not
So-
to
but to
a
the
resident.
single family, it'll be 15 feet, and they'll have to put an 8-foot opaque fence.
And landscaping buffering?
There's landscaping within the buffer of that 15 feet.
The
but not-
15 feet, yeah.
Okay.
And if it were to develop as it's currently zoned, the setback is not 15 feet. It's actually smaller than that. I believe 5 feet for interior side setbacks.
Yeah, I don't understand that. How many units could you, even medium density, get on a 0.289 acre tract? Zero?
It's 9 units per acre, so
So,
2.
2.
Maybe
Quarter-
a duplex.
let-
A
You could
duplex.
do multi-story, I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
technically.
That's
I mean,
that's
you
a
could
fair point.
Maybe
you can go
do
up to, you can
up to
go
40
up to
feet.
40 feet, right?
You can go up 40 feet in downtown, yes. Yep.
Well, 40 feet for multifamily medium, 70 for downtown.
Oh,
Yeah, member of the First Baptist Church.
right.
Loved us.
Okay,
But
any
there's
other-
certainly no plans for that. Like what falls under mixed use? The mixed use planning for this.
So, like I said, allowing the residential on the second floor and up in downtown district
Okay.
is the mixed use component.
Okay.
Similar to the David Stanley photography studio off of Willowwick. Correct.
Any other comments or questions? I just had just a few. So the downtown district, if I remember correctly, was established in 2008. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So it's, I think after, it came in after they purchased this property, but it's been there for quite a while. And then that area is surrounded, what's the zoning surrounding this their particular, or this particular property that the zone changed?
There's one single family residential adjacent on the corner. There's and then everything else adjacent to it is downtown district. The Serenity Gardens facility has an SUP overlay on, but it's zoned downtown district as well.
Okay, and then across the street is the junior high.
There is, the junior high is, it's a PUD with a specific use permit on it, but it's in the downtown district as well. And there is another residential property on the corner across from 212.
That's multifamily.
That's still single family.
Oh, single family.
Yeah.
It backs up to the Tanos project.
Okay, so and what's before us tonight, for clarity, is just a zone change.
Correct.
And so in the normal course of events, if I remember correctly, then any development of that, if we were to approve that zone change, or I guess even if it develops as a multifamily residential medium density, the steps then would be to come back before planning and zoning with site plans, drainage plans would have to get approved, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Our normal requirements.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Is there a motion for this item?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Next on our agenda is the city manager's report. Mr. Kabiri.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll kick things off with our winter storm event that a number of you mentioned. I will say I preferred this event far more than the one in 2021 because we were able to maintain power throughout the entire event. All of our first responders did a fantastic job, as well as our emergency managers and our communications team. I hope a number of you received notices throughout the event, just keeping you abreast of what's available and what's going on, whether that's canceled garbage service or what have you. If you didn't receive any notices from us, now's a good time to go to our website and sign up for news alerts, simply because it's our best way of getting in touch with you during those type events. We received about 2.5 to 3.5 inches of snowfall, and obviously a lot of hours that were worked during that event. Moving on, in February, and more particularly February 8th, we will have our Touch a Truck event, and this is the first time that this event has taken place, at least unique to just showcasing the amount of I want to call it an arsenal, so to speak, we have in heavy equipment, both for the city and the volunteer fire department. We encourage folks in the community to come out and actually touch the trucks and get inside of them and get a feel for what's out there, as well as learn about other options, whether it's to sign up for emergency notifications or just put a face to the people that you see in the community that are working in our public works department, our parks department, our police and fire, and so on and so forth. The third item is recognizing Matt Riley, our library director, and if I can ask Matt to come to the podium. So in addition to being a fellow Cougar and a great haircut, Matt's been with us since 1989. So if that doesn't send off alarms in your head as far as his dedication to the community, it should, because that's quite a while to dedicate to our community. Normally we recognize employees during our Christmas dinner, but unfortunately Matt wasn't able to attend. So we wanted to take this opportunity to thank him for his leadership. He's had just about every position in the library, and here in the last few years, I guess 5, he's been our director. So thank you, Matt, for everything you've done. Would you like to say a few words?
If you don't mind, thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to really quickly acknowledge my family and that came out. My wife Tara, my daughter Elise, my daughter Abby, her boyfriend Robert, and we also have our assistant director Karen Hart, our board member Nita Jambakar, and another board member JoBeth Brizendine. So thank y'all for coming out and support. I'll just be quick. It's been quite an honor to serve the city for these 35 years, and worked with some amazing people, both past and present. The current team is amazing. It's an honor. I look forward to what we're going to be able to do going forward in my time remaining. And then just lastly, I wanted to thank really the entire city for the support and prayers that have come our way over this last year. It's been very meaningful to us and has really uplifted us. So thank you to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do for our library.
Moving on to my fourth item, I want to recognize our Director of Engineering, Hill Arias. He was recently named to the San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group. You may recall this was created shortly after the 2019 legislative session in an effort to direct additional flood mitigation projects and stuff to the region following Hurricane Harvey in 2017. As a member of that board, Hill will be a voting member to help shape the planning and studying activities for the region as a whole. So we're grateful for Hill's continued leadership, as well as getting engaged in volunteering for these type of events. The appointment's not done by us, it's done by other agencies, and he's very highly regarded in the entire Houston region, and we're grateful to have him on our team.
Well done.
I also owe him a lunch for U of H's debacle against Texas Tech on Saturday, of which I'm...
Get your guns up.
Yes. And he did warn me. He said Wreckham Tech before the game started, and I should have listened. Lastly, I want to recognize our Deputy City Secretary Raquel Martinez, as well as our Administrative Assistant and CSO Linda Newstead. Both recently completed their Texas Municipal Clerks certification. And if you've been in this industry long enough, you know that it's nothing to sneeze at. It's a difficult process that takes multiple years. Both of them got scholarships to participate in this training, and we commend the work they do and to continue their professional development. Thank you.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Murad. And next, we move on to proposed ordinances and resolutions. Our first item is to consider on its first reading an ordinance amending Appendix D, Schedule of Fees, Rates, Charges, Deposits, Bond, and Insurance Amounts of the Friendswood City Code to update fees for buildings and building regulations, peddlers, solicitors, canvassers, and itinerant vendors, wrecker service, towing fees, and credit card payment processing convenience fees. Mr. Kabiri, do you
Yes.
provide the staff summary?
Since Aubrey was out of town this last few weeks, she drew the short straw and will be presenting this evening.
Thank you, Aubrey.
No problem. So just some highlights. This is a bit of an overhaul for CDD related fees. So some of the reasons for the fee update is to change our to flat rate fees for our trade permits, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits. I'll explain a little bit more why we want to do that. A slight increase, excuse me, to cover staff time spent conducting inspections, increase the base fee and the issuance fee for commercial fire and sign permits, add same-day inspections as a inspection fee as an option, and also increase solicitor permit fees and to increase credit card processing fees. Thank you, ma'am. So we did do some benchmarking with other cities. So just a sample house. We have an address of 2225 Mason Terrace, a value of $832,404, and the square footage is 4,578 square feet for the house and the garage. If you remember, a few years ago, the state legislature changed the law that we can't charge residential permit fees based on value. So we switched to a per square foot basis, and honestly, I think it works out a lot better. It's a lot more fair, level playing field for all the contractors. I think the fees are more fair. We were able to work it out, and we didn't, we converted the fees to where we didn't lose money on that, and so it's worked out well. So just the benchmarking with other cities. These are our current fees that are highlighted in green. So right now, for this house, we would charge $175.75 for the electrical permit, $145 for the plumbing permit, and $105 for the mechanical permit. So you can see the other cities are all more than us, except for Kemah, which I think there was, I don't remember why theirs was less, but so there are other cities that are still charging itemized fees. So Sugar Land, Deer Park, Conroe, Webster, Tomball, Seabrook, Galveston, and Houston. That was the standard. Actually, I went back and looked. Some of these fees were adopted in 1995 and have not been changed. So it's about time to get updated. The other reason for going to just the flat rate is because now our online permitting system, the applicants, the contractors are filling out the application information online. And so it's up to them to say, they're putting in 50 switches, this many outlets, dishwashers, garbage disposal. I mean, it's
That's
crazy.
Incredibly cumbersome.
Yes, it is. And our permit techs have been doing it for, 30 years. But they're a lot more used to it than, the people making application. So just going to the flat, it'd be based on square footage. So the proposed change, this house would be less than 5,000 square feet. So on the right in blue, an electrical permit would be $200, a plumbing permit would be $200, and a mechanical permit would be $200.
Aubrey, why did we just pick a flat rate, 200, 200, 200, when you look at electrical, plumbing, and mechanical. Most of them tier step down from electrical, plumbing to mechanical. So say go 200, 175, 150. Why don't we do something like that instead of just go 200, 200, 200?
Mainly for just ease of reference. Like when people call, and inquire about the fees, it's easier just to make them all the same. Also, like the number of inspections that are done. So when we do a frame inspection, we're doing electrical, plumbing, and mechanical inspections all at the same time. When we do a final inspection, we're looking at plumbing, electrical, mechanical. The electrical and plumbing have historically been a little bit more because we do like T-poles for electric, where mechanical doesn't have T-pole.
Okay.
So that would be the difference in the fees, but we're just trying to streamline it and make it as simple as possible.
The bottom half of those actually did exactly what we did. They're just flat line to the bottom half. Yeah. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah. So another new fee comparison for a new residential. So just for that same house, the same square footage, we did a sampling of 14 residential permits. So we pulled 14 of them. And this was the average was, about the same. And so again, our new permit fees would be the 200, 200, and 200. For pools and generators, we just pulled some averages on this one as well. So swimming pool trade permits currently, electrical is about $56.62. A plumbing permit averages like $78.50. So the proposed fees would just be the flat one. And like I said, this does include an increase because we haven't increased our fees in a very long time. And then generators, the current is about $57.20 and plumbing $35. So the proposal is $100 for electrical and $50 for plumbing. So benchmarking on the commercial trade permits. So this this proposed change will increase the there's a formula that these fees are figured. And again, that formula was adopted in 1995, 30 years ago, and has not been changed. This is just using a sample building that we recently permitted at 1610 West Boulevard. The value is $1.89 million. The square footage is 15,201. So our current fees that we charged for that permit, the electrical was $143, the plumbing $261.50, the mechanical $290. So the proposed fees for that would just be $300, $300, $300. And again, it's based on square footage for commercial as well.
No, we were about to ask the same. You go ahead. You were going to ask.
I was going to ask how many trips do our people have to make?
Oh no, okay, go
on.
It depends on the project. So typically we're doing, for plumbing, we're going to inspect the water and the sewer lines from the building to the property line. Your plumbing grounds is like before the foundation is poured, we're going to do a plumbing ground inspection. Again, it really is the
It's
square
several
footage.
trips.
Yeah, it is multiple trips, and the square footage is really like the bigger the building, the more time it's going to take. So.
Is Pearland just want to get out of the commercial building business? Or?
I don't know. Like we've looked at that multiple times. Like we have to be looking at something wrong, but we double checked. And
I will say there's some,
question too.
and there's an ideological benefit to consider. And I'm not suggesting mirroring what Pearland does, but the more that you have consumption-based services covered by those that are using the services, the less dependent you are on property taxes. Now, we'll never be able to collect in building permit fees what we need to operate solely without any help from the property tax revenue. However, if we appropriately charge for the services by the users that are availing themselves to it, then you're able to offset the burden on the property taxes.
So Aubrey, this doesn't seem to me, when you're looking at a large commercial property, that it's really going up very much at all, considering the number of trips that you have to take to that property for inspections, right?
Yeah, well, the other part of the commercial increase is the increase in the formula that we figure the building permit and plan check fee on. So not only the trade permits, we are proposing to change that formula. So right now, the base permit fee in that formula is $15, and then it's a tiered system after that, and it's based on the value. So the proposal is to change that base rate to $40, and then it's tiered. So for $1 million value, our current fees, the permit fee would be $2,660, and the plan check fee is half of that, so it'd be $1,330. The proposal, the permit fee would be $3,500, and the plan check fee would be $1,750. So that would be another increase on
And
the
these were
commercial.
also done back, haven't been changed since like 1995.
Yeah, this formula was adopted in 1995. It should have been updated, I think about 10 years ago. We looked at there is a formula that you can use, and we were so far behind, like there was no way to like just jump to that. So hopefully this, if we get a little bit caught up with this, then we can start reviewing our fees more regularly, and maybe every year or 5 years review our fees and update as necessary.
We're nowhere near the top of what our surrounding cities are charging.
No, and we've also, we've purchased the software that we use now is more expensive than the software we used before. We're doing digital plan reviews now, so that was the other part, is to increase the issuance fee to $40 instead of $10. All the trade permits pay an issuance fee of $40, so we want to bring everybody in line with that, and that hopefully helps cover a little of our administrative cost for the software licensing. Let's see, that's just another example. So proposed fees for a commercial property that's 5,000 to 11,999 square feet. The sub permit fees would be $250 each. So another increase would be to increase the reinspection fees to $100 and add the option for a same-day inspection fee. So if someone wants a same day, we could charge them, the $100 and get that done. Our inspectors are usually pretty flexible with that. But right now our reinspection fee is $35, and as you can see, like, we're really behind on that as well. The reinspection fees, we don't charge a reinspection fee until we deny it, typically the third inspection. Like I said, the inspectors are usually pretty, they work with people, we want them to pass their inspections, but it's usually an extreme situation if we're charging fees for that.
Is it the same $100 each time? I noticed some of those cities are increasing. The more times they come out, the price goes up.
Yeah, at least.
Does ours stay constant?
It would just be the same each time, yeah. So this is just an overview of all of the, increases. So residential less than 5,000 square feet, the electrical, plumbing, mechanical permits would be $200 each. More than 5,000, they'd be $275 each. Just base rates for the storage, outdoor swimming pool repairs, swimming, solar panels, generators, $100 for the electrical permits, signs and reconnects would be $75. We get a lot of electrical reconnects. It's just, we issue the permit and it's one trip out, hopefully. Again, for commercial square footage, so we would differentiate those a little bit more. So less than 5,000 square feet, which is going to be your build outs and your strip centers typically. A 5,000 to 11,999 would be $250 for the trades. 12,000 square feet to 40,000 square feet would be $300. 40,001 square feet to 80 would be $400, and then anything 80,000 square feet and up would be $500 each. And on the right hand side, that's just the issuance fee going up to $40, and then the change in the base fee for the formula. The police department, in looking at some of this, we were charging $5 for solicitor permit fees, and I think $2 and $3. They were very nominal fees for these requests. So Lisa did some research and some benchmarking with other cities, and they're kind of all over the place. I mean, there's varied situations here, so permit durations are different. They range from 72 hours to every 90 days to annual renewals. But again, the $5 and $2 and $3 that we were charging isn't quite.
Do we require our solicitors to be bonded?
So we do a background check on the solicitors, whether or not they're bonded. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, that costs $25, $30 just to do a background check.
Correct.
Yeah.
And these fees were adopted back in 1984 and haven't been adjusted since. So they're
Yeah.
woefully out of date.
So the proposed change on this to reflect, just cover administrative costs, we're recommended to increase the application fee to $50 per application. An additional ID card fee would be $15 per card, and a replacement of registration certificate increased to $15. And then
The last two before we talk about credit card fees are related to towing, both regular towing and heavy towing. If we have a disabled vehicle within our right of way that needs to be moved out of the way, to ensure that that's done fairly expeditiously and the city isn't eating those costs. So if you have a tow that you can do yourself or have someone tow, that's fine, but we can also have your vehicle towed, and these are the costs associated with it. And our proposed fee is in line with most of the other cities in the region.
That looks pretty cheap to me.
Yeah, I think we're still pretty.
The regular tows are fairly cheap. The heavy tows are obviously on the next slide are
And
slightly.
this is just for vehicles that are blocking the roadways.
Correct. We can increase the fees, obviously, if y'all would like, but that's going to create some heartache for those that are stranded. And
No, I just thought it looked reasonable.
yeah. The last slide are the credit card fees. So we're switching credit card terminal vendors at the request of our enterprise software purveyor. We don't have a choice in the matter, and the fees are increasing from 2.5% to 3%. Those costs obviously are passed on to the consumer that is using credit cards. You're not obligated to use a credit card, but it's a pass-through cost.
But the 3% is just a 100% pass-through.
Correct.
Okay, any further comments or questions?
Good job.
Okay, is there a motion on this item?
I'll second. Go ahead.
Either one of us.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey. Our next item is to consider on its first reading an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 4, Community and Economic Development Committee, Section 2-41B, Membership of the Friendswood City Code, to add 2 new positions to the committee and establishing terms of office for the newly created positions in order to effectively stagger the terms of the committee's members.
Motion to approve. Second.
Just double checking any.
So this request was made by the chair of our CEDC as well as the council liaison for the CEDC to help out with some of their larger events that take place throughout the year. Should council approve this, we will work on getting nominations before you at the next meeting.
And so you want 9?
Exactly. This was 7, and 9 would be nice, especially now that we've taken on the Small Business Week. We kind of drowned a lot of the city staff. There's a lot that's involved with that. So if we could have a few more volunteers to help us with that, then we could take some of the burden off the city staff.
Can you get volunteers without them being on a position like a board or a commission? Can you just get volunteers and instead of going to 9?
and just get more
It's
volunteers?
a year long. I mean,
Oh,
why
it's
not
a
go ahead and have-
commitment.
Yeah, it's a year-long
Major
commitment. I mean, we work on it all year long. It's kind of like 4th of July almost.
You
Not
wrote-
quite
you-
as bad, James, I promise. But we work on that year-round.
You're
So
using up
it
your
isn't
people.
just like a 2 or 3 month gig. It's a
I got you.
year-round. So we would really like to step it up. And I think the committee once upon a time was 9. And then when we went through all of our committees, we reduced it. So now we're just bringing it back to where it once upon a time
But you've added
was.
some more scope since then.
We've
You're
added
doing more
definitely
things.
more scope.
Gotcha.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay, our last item in this section is to consider an ordinance amending the city's general budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 by approving Budget Amendment 5 and providing for supplemental appropriations and or transfer of certain funds.
Motion to approve. Second.
Before we vote on that, anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, I did have one. I had a resident reach out to me just because of the value on this particular sheet. I would like to, Mr. Kabir, if you could respond to this. And they asked about the $2.85 million for the Whitcomb Terracing and Stormwater Detention Basin. And although, you know, I went through and explained some of this, I would like to hear your explanation for why that shows up as a budget amendment. If you could provide a summary of this, I would appreciate it for the record.
Yes, sir. There are two components to the Whitcomb drainage flood mitigation effort. One is the detention component. Before we can do any conveyance improvements, namely terracing, shelving of any sort along Clear Creek, we have to have a mitigation component to ensure that there's no downstream impacts when those models are run. That mitigation component is being done as part of the Friendswood City Center. We contributed money from the drainage bonds in partnership with the developer to dig a larger hole to accommodate the shelving that's going to ultimately take place. A few years ago, we entered into a multi-jurisdictional agreement with Harris County Flood Control District, Galveston County Consolidated, and as well as the city of Friendswood. And it was for two regional projects. One was the FM 1959 Regional Detention Basin up by FM 1959 in Clear Creek, and the second one was here along the Whitcomb property. The state is kicking in $10 million towards that effort, and the city is contributing $17 million towards that effort. So when we executed the agreement back in, I want to say 2022 or 23, it was probably 23, the tail end of 23 because it was part of the legislative session from 2023. We basically committed ourselves to pursuing this project, but we did not appropriate the funds. As a condition of the state's $10 million, they asked that Harris County Flood Control District be the lead agency. They are ready to undergo engineering for this effort, so the $2.85 million is our share of the engineering cost for the terracing now that the detention pond component is being completed or will be wrapped up within the next few months.
And that's paid to Harris County?
It's paid
drainage?
to Harris County, but specifically for this project.
Right.
But in order to pay them, we have to appropriate the funds from the bond proceeds.
We're just moving it out of our bond funds into our general budget.
Correct. And so anytime we issue bond proceeds, they're deposited in an investment account earning interest for the city. And before that, when it's time to make our payments due, we take it out of that account, obviously, and pay the appropriate vendor depending on the contract.
And that's why they're called undesignated funds. They haven't been designated yet. Now these are being designated, and Harris County Flood Control District is the lead on this.
Correct.
They're running with it.
And this particular terracing project was always in our 2024-2025 plan. It is now. It's what we approved.
Correct. It was a major component. Again, in an ideal world, we would terrace all of Clear Creek throughout the entirety of Friendswood. League City wouldn't like us too much, but as with any effort, we're trying to make incremental improvements, and this is a big win for Friendswood, especially considering the $10 million contribution from the state of Texas.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. The motion passes. Okay, our final item this evening is the consent agenda. Note that corrections have been made to the minutes. And Raquel, I thought, I guess I had thought they were going to be handed out, but.
They are.
Oh, they did? Okay, I just missed it when I put it on my stuff on top. Okay, so that's been in front of you for those corrections. So now, Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Seeing no more business before us this evening at the end of our agenda, this meeting is now adjourned.